so.
Well, you've admitted that you can still your mind. Yesterday you did, and while your senses are still present. And if that's true,
the only question is, right, this is one thing they talk about as well, is, yeah, it's relatively still, but there's still stuff going on in subconscious, mental processes are going on, but the idea when you're meditating deeply, those also stop.
Okay, so then the question is how still is still, right? And again, we don't, in the suttas, we don't have, it's not like the Buddha's got a stopwatch and he's going, okay, you can't have thoughts more frequently than one per hour, or one per minute, or one per 10 minutes or something, right?
Per watch.
Right. The only mention of time in the suttas is a watch, and no one seems to know what a watch is. I think a watch is probably 2 to 4 hours, something like that. Probably more like 2 hours. Now the question is so now we're back to the second jhana is defined specifically in the arising of tranquility. So what is tranquility? Is tranquility the relative stilling of the mind? And how relatively still is that mind? Now for Ajahn Brahm, for him, you've got to be in an immaterial state of being before the first jhana arrives on the scene. So then for me, it's like, well, okay, if you've gotten into an immaterial state, you've got to have a profoundly still mind. There can't be any mental activity going on at his first jhana.
Right, well, there's no, at his first jhana, if I understand correctly, he says there's Vitakka and viccara. He says that the translation sustained and applied
and sustained what?
Attention.
Oh, attention.
Attention.
So he's not calling it thought at all.
No, attention.
Attention.
And he says that they're mistranslated as thought. There's no thought in first jhana.
Okay, then what is tranquility about?
He says it's the mind moving toward bliss, and that, or he says it's the mind grasping at bliss, and then that's the movement, the mind grasping at bliss, and then it lets go when it realizes that by letting go, that's how it gets the bliss.
Yeah, but I would think by the time somebody gets to an immaterial state of consciousness, all that volitional activity of grasping and letting go and all that's gone. Long before.
Well, I don't think he says it's volitional. It's just involuntary grasping. That's just the way the mind does it.
I know, it sounds to me like somebody doesn't understand the English language very well. Because if it's not volitional, it's not the mind. The mind is not grasping. The mind is grasping when it's volitional. When it's non-volitional, the mind is not grasping.
Well, volitional just means that that's your intention. So it's like, it's just like a reflex of the mind. It's not something that you're thinking about or intending. It's just like a reflex.
So you're talking about, reflex. You know what I think we should all do? Is we should probably burn all the religious books in the world and just start over again. You know what I mean? It's like there's so much nonsense trying to figure it out, right? And it's really, I think it's a function of how attached somebody is to their religious doctrine or not. For me, yeah, I look at the Pali Canon, the Sutta Pitaka, the Pali Canon, but it's not the only thing I look at. I look at Teresa of Avila and John of the Cross, and Rumi and Kabir as well. And I don't think that you can even understand Buddhism or what the Buddha was teaching without looking outside of Buddhism and look at what somebody who seems to be like the Buddha, how they express themselves. And when we look at Teresa of Avila, John of the Cross, Rumi, Kabir, Patanjali, Jesus, people like that, and then look at the Sutta Pitaka, then I think we can start going, we can start kind of putting this puzzle together and throw out the things that don't mesh. and I think we can end up with something that works. For me, there are no 8 stages of immaterial samadhi states. There's a state of samadhi in which the senses, you're still aware of the senses, you're just withdrawn from them. They haven't disappeared, right? That's your experience. When my mind stills, I know I'm in this, that comes after the blissful sensations that arise. Then my mind stills. Then I experience a deeper level of stilling of the mind, in which I'm even especially hyper aware of the external senses, but the senses that I hear are not affecting me at all. I feel as though I don't even have a sense of I anymore. I'm just an empty conduit in which sensory phenomena is passing through me. That, to me, is the third jhana. And then at the fourth jhana, I'm still aware that I have a body, and that I still have sensory phenomena going on. But now I've arrived at a state of samadhi in which I feel as though I could sit there forever. I'm so totally free of the burden of the body that I feel as though I'm light. I can sit here forever, but I'm still aware that I have a body, and I'm still aware of the external surroundings. And then, after that, then luminous sphere appears. I fly out of body. I go to various dimensions out of the body. And to me, that's the immaterial phase of samadhi. So the material phase, or rupa phase of samadhi, or savikalpa phase of samadhi, sa with, not vikalpa, but savikalpa, is, with the senses present. There's 4 stages of that. And then there's 4 stages of immaterial attainment. To try and lump all the spiritual experiences into an immaterial state, first of all, doesn't agree with the suttas. It doesn't agree with Teresa of Avila on the cross, Rumi Kabir. It's like.
But I think you're characterizing it as an immaterial state, but I don't think Ajahn Brahm would. And in my experience, his what he calls jhana, what he calls the first jhana, you're saying is an immaterial.
Well, if he's not aware of having a physical body, and he's not aware of the physical senses, then what is it if it's not an immaterial state?
I don't know, but...
Oh, by the way, where in the suttas does it specifically describe the stage of samadhi in which there's a luminous sphere? There's not one sutta that says that one of these samadhi states is a luminous sphere.
There is, I believe, Buddha says, here monks, this mind is luminous. He does say that.
Okay, but that to me, that doesn't certainly talk about a luminous sphere, but okay, arguably. If we want to reach, we could, if we're really attached to our belief system that only my religious experience is valid and everybody else's religious experience is invalid, and I happen to see luminous spheres, then only those people who have a religious experience identical to mine are right, and everybody else who has a religious experience outside of my tiny little world of experience is wrong.